Well, tonight at Club Menangle, we honour one of the living legends of harness racing in Vic Frost with the running of the Vic Frost Free For All. However, Vic has honours us, more importantly, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by one of the greats, if not the great, Vic Frost. Vic, it's great to catch up with you once again. When you walked into Club Menangle tonight and saw those famous silks hanging on the wall in the Living Legends area, along with all those silks of the colleagues, the greats of harness racing from yesteryear, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
Well, it was just turn back time, really, you know, seeing myself up there and all these other guys that I've been racing against pretty well at least half of my life anyway. And, you know, it's just fantastic when you look around, all these famous horses, famous guys, like, you know, all these races that are, and big races. It's just like turning back time, and that's the way it's sort of been for me. Like, you know, since I walked in here tonight, and I've been looked after like a celebrity, really. I mean, thanks to the Menangle Club, you know. So, no, it's great, you know. You're
more than a celebrity, Vic, but you are a living legend. Of all those legends you just looked at there, Kevin Newman, John Binsky and A.D. Turnbull, Kevin Robinson, which was your toughest opponent?
Oh, well, they were all bloody tough, tough opponents when you get on the track. Yeah, like, you know, Kevin Newman and I, we won. I won one premiership, Kevin won two, I won another one, he won another one or two. So there for about 12 or 13 years, it was him either winning or me winning the premierships, you know. So we had a great tussle there for a lot of years, like, you know, Kevin Newman and I. So. But he was a great competitor, but a really top guy as well, like, you know, and he treated me the same, like, you know, I treated him the same. So, you know, but all those other good drivers, like Kevin Robinson, he was a great driver, good conditioner of a horse, and he had some really nice horses as well. And, you know, he's a guy I respected, you know, all my life, like, you know, the way he used to turn his horses out and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, but, you know, it's pretty hard to pick someone out because they're all good top horsemen, like, you know, to get where they've got in the game, like, you know. So, you know, all the work you've got to do from the start to get those horses to win those sort of races, it's no easy feat, like, you know. There's a lot of disappointments along the way, and each of those guys have got something special to get their horses there.
Vic, you were recently inducted into the Queensland Harness Racing Hall of Fame, an idol and a hero to so many, the likes of Nathan Dawson, Matt Elkin in particular. Growing up, who was your idol?
Oh, gee, look, I suppose like Kevin Newman was probably, yeah, because I was just behind Kevin and he was sort of always there. Kevin Robinson was another guy I used to look up to. They were really nice guys, good at their trade, good drivers, good conditioners, and done well in the game. Like, you know, they presented themselves well. So, you know, those guys I sort of looked up to, you know. So, and I suppose now I'm sort of up there with them type of thing, like, you know.
You certainly are. You drove your first win at Harold Park as a 16-year-old. Horse by the name of Galway Bay in 1957. The legend commenced in that particular time and it continues to grow.
Yeah, well, that was a bit funny that night because I was actually too young to have a licence to drive, and the stewards of the day called my dad in and they said, oh, George, who's my father, and they said, oh, this kid's not old enough to have a licence. And he said, well, he was born during the war. He said, I must have missed a year. So anyway, the stewards from Newcastle, Keith Compton was the steward at the time, he was on the panel, and they sent us outside, and so they must have had a talk, you know, and Keith Compton he'd seen me drive winners at Newcastle and Maitland, and he must have said, well, look, this kid can drive all right, like, you know. So anyway, they brought me back in and they said, okay, see how you go tonight. If you go all right, you can keep your licence. If you don't, well, we'll just take it back. So I went out and I won the race by half a head, and I've kept my licence ever since. So there was a bit of a story to that one.
We mentioned some of the great combinations down the years. Colin Pike, Paleface Adios, Kevin Newman, Hal Wes, Tony Turnbull, course, Hyundai Grattan. We mentioned Vic Frost, and automatically we think of Westburn Grant. We're standing in front of one of his Miracle Mile wins. What made him so great?
Well, I've thought of that 1,000 times. I've looked at him, and I've looked at other horses, and they look very similar to him. And I've looked at it, I thought, what makes you this good, and that bloke standing beside you, nowhere near as good? You know, you still got 4 legs at the head and all that sort of thing. But it's just the animal itself. And Westburn Grant was such an intelligent stallion. Like you could teach him nearly anything. He was almost human, really. Like, you know, he's Kevin Wells was just saying there tonight. Like, you know, he used to travel him around for me. Like, you know, when I had to come back home, he'd look after the horse and bring him back my plane from where he's at, West Australia or New Zealand. And he said he used to just put his head on his shoulder and he'd just sit there, you know, like just stand there on the plane or that sort of thing, you know. So the horse was very intelligent himself, like a very smart horse. So you could rush him out of the gate and then you take hold and he'll just come straight back to you. So the horse was a bit like the driver driving him, sort of thing. You'd go out, get a position, come back, and that sort of thing. So he was just a perfect racehorse in that respect, yeah.
Vic, he faced the starter on July 7, 1988 at Penrith. He won that particular race by 3 metres, then won 15 of his next 17, runner-up twice. When did you know you had a star in the making?
Well, it was pretty well from that time when he won at Penrith. Glenn drove him in that one because Glenn actually got him going in the first place, and because we lost his brother around that time. But anyway, the horse he just that day in that Penrith race, he was just a green 2-year-old, and he was hard to steer, and he'd get halfway past the leader, and I think Johnny Binskin was in front, or Darren. It could have been Darren at that time, but it could have been Johnny, and he got halfway past him on the turn, and Westburn Grant sort of hung in on him, so Glenn had to keep him off him. And then he'd lose half a length or so. Next straight, he'd nearly get up alongside again. Next straight, he'd come back. And I thought, oh, geez, you know, this was going to just knock up. But then when he turned for home, he just went on and won the race. And I thought, geez, this is a pretty good horse, this fella. So right from that start. And then Glenn won 6 races on him. And then the owners, our part owners at the time, said, oh, look, Vic, because Glenn was only just learning, and they said, oh, we want you to drive him, like, you know, because we think he's a pretty nice horse. I said, oh, I'd like Glenn to keep driving him, you know. And they said, oh, no, we want you to drive him. So that's how it all happened. That's why it was driving from there on. So, yeah, it was a bit disappointing for Glenn, but it was good for me. Like, you know, so it was, you know, it was pretty. It was a decision we had to sort of make, you know. So.
Vic, 67 starts, 38 wins, 11 times runner-up, 7 placings as third, $2 million in prize money. 1989, 1990, the Miracle Miles, 92, the Inter Dominion. But it's the 1991 Australian Pacing Championship at Launceston that I want to reminisce about, because he went into the race all that week under a very severe injury cloud.
Yes, he did. He did, Mike. Yeah, he did. You know, we were sort of struggling along with his feet and all that sort of stuff, and because, you know, I had to work him on the beach, you know, I had to find a decent beach, and Tasmania was pretty hard to find a decent stretch of beach down there, I can tell you. But anyway, I found this bit of a beach, and I worked him down there one day, and he went 150, you know, on the beach. I thought, gee, this horse is going good. And I thought, well, gee, he should win, which he did. Like, you know, he went on and won that race. But yeah, we had a bit of a cloud over us at that time, but he put that to rest real quick once the race was on.
There is a funny story attached to that race. I had the privilege to go down there for Sky Channel to cover that particular series. And I asked you before the race, what can we say about Westburn Grant? His fitness. You told me he's fit, he's well, he wouldn't be going around if he's not. I think he can win. He said, but I'm respecting my opponents. But there was a version 2 that you shared just with me, and I'd love you to say it again.
he went that quick, he burnt the bloody crabs out of their sand holes.
You told me the lobsters and crabs were coming out of the sea already cooked.
That's right. Yeah, they were good times, Mick. Yeah, they were good times, mate.
Certainly were. 22 metres later, our metre boy ran second, Thor raced third. The rest of them, I think, are still coming in. But geez, you had a lot of good stoushes with Vinnie Knight.
Yeah, I did. Vinnie had a lot of good horses at that time, and sometimes he had 2 and 3 runners in those top races, And he was a pretty hard man to beat. He was a he had plenty of money behind him. He was a good trainer. And lots of good horses, and he sort of he wouldn't hold back. If he thought something, he'd tell you guys, journalists, and what he thought, what he didn't think. So he was a boisterous sort of a guy, and so sometimes he was pretty hard to beat, especially with 2 or 3 horses in the race, But
finally, Vic, why was Westburn Grand called Spot?
Well, he got rain scald as a 2-year-old, with the rain on him, and then the sun comes out and they sort of scald, and then you rub them and the hair leaves blotches on them, and so we just called him Spot. We just thought, we'll just call him Spot because he had these spots on him. That name stuck to him for the rest of his life.
What a great association. Vic Frost and Westburn Grand going down in harness racing folklore as one of the greatest combinations. Vic, it's been an absolute honour to catch up with you once again.
Thanks very much, Mick, and it's great to be here with you, mate, and to say those few words, mate. It's been great, absolutely great.